Hi guys, today we're going to do an easy beginner-friendly Valentine's Day quilt using one block and then rotating these blocks to make two bigger blocks. And I'll also give you some tips and tricks to help with these blocks. Stay tuned. Welcome to my channel, Creations with Tanya, where I enjoy to create with different art mediums. In this video, I will show you how to make this Valentine's quilt. Great if you're just starting out at quilting or have a couple of quilts under your belt. This quilt would be done in roughly 1 to 2 days. Step 1, material need. 2 packs of charm squares, usually like the color you want, and 2 packs of background squares. You'll need roughly 3.5 yards of backing, and I do a half a yard for the binding. If you don't have any 5-inch charm packs, don't worry, just use what fabrics you have and cut them into 5-inch squares. Just like I'm doing here, I didn't have any charm packs for the background color, so I cut my layer cake into 4 5-inch squares. This lap size quilt is 36 by 48 inches, so I calculated it out that I needed 85-inch blocks to finish this quilt. With the background color, I needed to cut my squares again to 2.5-inch squares. So if you only have a charm pack, then you only have to cut once. But if you have layer cake, then you would need to cut it 2 times. Or if you have a jelly roll, then it's 2.5 inches already, so you just have to cut it 2.5 inches and you'll get your squares. As you can see, I'm cutting my 5-inch squares down into the 2.5-inch squares. Next, I'm taking my colored fabric and I'm putting my 2.5-inch square background fabric on top of it, right sides together. And then I'm gonna do a finger fold and do a little crease so that it shows a line for where I need to sew. You can also use a fabric pen or you can iron it. It's your choice. Once I've done this, I take it over to my sewing machine and I sew on the line. The next step is to cut your 1/4-inch seam. So I take my ruler and I measure 1/4 of an inch away from the sew line that I just sewed and I cut it with my rotary knife. You're going to do this to all your other blocks. Next is to iron the background fabric towards the light fabric, and this makes your square. Once this is done, I'm going to square it up, and as I didn't quite sew it properly, so I just gave it a little bit of a trim. I finished up the rest of my blocks and I've laid out my X. Now I'm going to sew the top row and the bottom row separately. So I usually put the top row right sides together, sew 1/4 inch seam, and then go to the bottom and do the same thing. Once that's done, we'll come back. Here I'm showing you how you make the O or the hug. You just turn it a little bit and voila, now you have your O block. So you'll need 10 X blocks and you'll need 10 O blocks. Once I'm done sewing the block, I set the seam with my iron and then I open it up and give it a good press so it's lying flat. The next step is to do your O or hug blocks, and with the background fabric, I've layered multiple background fabrics on top of each other. I usually do about 4 or 5 pieces, and then I cut to the desired size, which is 2.5 squares. This helps cut your fabric more quickly. Another tip is when you're going to sew your pieces together, chain piece them. Instead of just sewing one piece at a time, trimming your threads, sew them all at once, and then trim everything. I find it's a lot quicker. Once everything is done, then you would do the same steps for the X blocks, which you did earlier. Once your 10X and 10O blocks are sewn together, I lay the pattern out on the floor. The pattern is 4 blocks per row, making 5 rows. Sew each row together first. Once your rows are sewn, then I take the first and the second row and sew those together. Then I take the third or the fourth and the fifth row, sew them together. The middle row I then sew either to the top or the bottom, doesn't matter, and then sew the bottom to the last 3 rows, which then makes your quilt top. Give this quilt block a try and comment below and tell me how it went. If you have anything you would like me to do next, leave a comment as well. I have put some links in the description box below on how to make a quilt sandwich and how to finish off your quilt with binding. Bye!